like to welcome you to the Service of Remembrance and Commemoration, ANZAC Day 2017, acknowledging that 102 years ago today, the Allied forces landed at Gallipoli, a moment forever etched into the history of our nation. The significance of the march that the band played is the composer, the late Commissioner Sir Dean Goffin, a Wellington Salvationist and soldier who led the military band during World War II. As a musician, they served on the medical corps. However, they saw active combat, and so the march is particularly poignant as it was written in wartime. It's great to see so many people here today from all generations, all walks of life, gathered together for a common purpose: to remember and acknowledge and honour those who have served in our armed forces, and especially those who paid the ultimate price for the very freedom we enjoy today. We acknowledge and say thank you to the Brooklyn School and to Principal Liz Rose for making this venue available for us this morning. And I would let you know that you are all invited to share refreshments following the service down at the Brooklyn Community Centre, and you have the choice of the shortcut or behind the band in the parade. I do want to acknowledge several people here today: Mr. Bruce Diggle, former President of the Brooklyn RSA, politicians and councillors, the Honourable Chris Finlayson, Attorney General, Honourable Nick King, MP for Rongotai, James Shaw, Member of Parliament, co-leader of the Green Party, and Member of Parliament Grant Robertson, Councillors Nicola Young, Brian Dawson and Paul Eagle, and also Navy Reserve Mark Sleeman, who is doing the honours of the flag this morning. Colour bearers, I invite you now to present your colours. On 25th of April 1915, the Allied forces landed at Gallipoli. Young men with an indomitable fighting spirit endured some of the most appalling conditions imaginable. The Gallipoli offensive cost the Allied forces 141,000 casualties, of which 44,000 died. This included more than 8,700 Australian and 2,700 New Zealand lives. It took 5 days for news of the landing to reach home, and on receiving the news, a half-day holiday was declared and impromptu services were held. It is reported that of those New Zealanders who landed at Gallipoli, 87% were killed or wounded, a horrific casualty rate. In 1916, the anniversary of the landing of Gallipoli was named ANZAC Day, in honour of the New Zealand and Australian soldiers serving and those lost. And services have been held on this day across New Zealand and Australia, and indeed around the world. And so we're here in Brooklyn 102 years later as part of the New Zealand people who gather to pay tribute to our returned servicemen and women, and to remember and honour those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and did not come home. 2 years ago in 2015, right here, commemorations acknowledged the 100-year anniversary of the landing at Gallipoli. Last year we acknowledged 100 years since the Battle of the Somme. This year, 2017, it is 100 years when we remember such battles, or 100 years on, we remember such battles as those fought at Arras, Mizanez and Passchendaele. ANZAC Day ceremonies will be again held across France and Belgium, as well as in New Zealand and Australia, with a significant role played by the ANZACs acknowledged. It's recorded that it was on the Western Front where New Zealand made its most significant contribution to the First World War, and also where New Zealand suffered the greatest loss of life. On the Somme in 2016, more than 2,000 New Zealanders lost their lives. However, 1917, 100 years ago, was the most costly for our New Zealand soldiers over the 3 years on the Western Front. 1917 was the worst. The Passchendaele offensive initially saw New Zealand's success, described as due in part to the New Zealand spirit and determination decimating the enemy lines. However, a lack of reinforcements and resources contributed to those forces being pushed back. The warfare was brutal, and on 12 October 1917, an order was given to attack the Bellevue Ridge. The wettest autumn in 70 years had turned the ground into impenetrable mud, sometimes waist deep, which along with uncut barbed wire, trapped and exposed the New Zealand Division to machine gun fire. The carnage that day has been described as New Zealand's darkest day. What was left of the New Zealand Division was withdrawn from Flanders, and after 2 further battles the Canadian forces finally took Passchendaele. Our darkest period, 3 Victoria Crosses for bravery were awarded to New Zealanders, but the cost was huge, 18,000 wounded, 5,000 killed. Put that in perspective, the last census had Brooklyn at about 6,500 people. Today we remember and pay tribute to all those who served in all military campaigns, including the First World War, Second World War, Korea, Malaysia, Vietnam and Afghanistan, and those who have undertaken peacekeeping duties in Africa, Asia, the Pacific and the Middle East. And so as New Zealanders, proud of our servicemen and women, those who fought and returned, those fallen in active service, and acknowledging those presently in active service, it's fitting that we gather here in Brooklyn, Wellington, New Zealand, 2017, and we remember them. I invite you to sing our national anthem, God Defend New Zealand. We will sing the first verse in Māori, and then all 3 verses in English, accompanied by the band. If you haven't got an order of service, wave out to one of the helpers and they will happily bring one to you, the song sheet. And I invite you to stand. There will be a short